Hello viewers, today I will be discussing the tyrosine kinase pathway. Now before this I had already made video on the GPCRs and then the ion channel. Now it's a turn of tyrosine kinase pathway. It's again a physiological receptor type and it's basically a transmembrane receptor which is linked to intracellular enzyme. So you will have the extracellular domain, you will have the membranous part, and then you will have the intracellular domain. And then the intracellular domain is linked with the enzyme. So that is the very speciality of this type of pathway or this type of receptor. Now there would be many abbreviation used in the video and you can find the full form of the abbreviations down in the description box. See, what happens is we have the receptor present in the membrane, and when the receptor is there, there has to be a ligand, and then ligand binds with the receptor, and then some conformational changes occurs, and then a series of event occurs, and then at last the effect is generated. So I will explain the whole pathway by the help of the steps and the figure. So initially when the ligand is not bound with the receptor, then it exists in the monomer form, single unit, monomer form. So I have shown here, this is when the ligand is not bound form with the receptor. So it is monomer. There is one monomer here and one monomer here. They are separately present in the membrane. Now what happens? The ligand binds with the receptor. Here ligand can be many types. Examples can be many. We have the EGF, which is epidermal growth factor. We have the PDGF, that is platelet derived growth factor. Then the nerve growth factor. Then we have the fibroblast growth factor. Likewise, we have VEGF, vascular endothelial growth factor, and then nephrins. So throughout the explanation of this pathway, I'll be using the example of EGF. So EGF is the ligand here. Now ligand is there and it binds with the receptor. Receptor with the cysteine domain, which is present extracellular. So it binds with the cysteine domain of extracellular part of the receptor, and that exists in the monomer form. So one monomer and another monomer. And in the monomer you will see there are the 5 subunits. I will explain it later on. So there will be 4 subunits here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what is the significance of those subunits? I will be explaining later part. As soon as the ligand bind with the receptor. So here we have the monomer. Here we have the monomer. And we have the unit 1, 2, 3 and 4. This is shown in different color. This is inactive tyrosine kinase down intracellular. Enzyme is present, which is in inactive form when the ligand is not bound form. Now when the ligand bind with the receptor, then dimerization occurs, which means that the two monomer comes close to each other and bind with each other and forms a single unit. So this is known as dimerization. So when the ligand bind with the receptor with cysteine domain, there is a receptor dimerization. So here two molecule of EGF is there. It binds, one binds here in one monomer and another binds here with another monomer, another receptor, and then they come closer and then dimerization occurs. So this whole structure is dimerization of the receptor. Now there are 4 subunits, right? 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now there 2 and 4 subunit, that is red and this one. 2 and 4 subunit helps in forming the dimerization, and they are known as dimerization arms. Whereas the remaining, that is the green one, that is 3 and then 1, interface of 3 and 1, the EGF molecule or the ligand binds. So upon binding of EGF to the subunit of 1 and 3 interface, there is a dimerization occurs by the help of subunit 2 and 4. So that's over. So receptor dimerization over. Now when in this process there is conformational changes occur. So when the EGF binds, there is conformation, change in the structure, and the pattern and the positioning changes. So this is known as conformational changes. So conformational changes occurs upon binding of the ligand with the receptor. Then what happens? Then that conformational changes causes the phosphorylation. The phosphorylation of what? The phosphorylation of the intracellular part. That is the tyrosine kinase. So we have the tyrosine kinase here, tyrosine kinase molecule. So that gets phosphorylated. So both the whole dimerized part gets phosphorylated, the intracellular tyrosine kinase part, and that makes it active. So that's over. Phosphorylation of kinase domain of tyrosine residue, which resides intracellularly. Now after that, what happens? So here it becomes the active tyrosine kinase. Now activation will lead to the formation of pocket-like structure, and that formation is basically for SH2 domain. SH2 domain. SH2 is SRC homology type 2. So that's a SH2 formation domain, the formation of SH2 domain, or the formation of a pocket for SH2 domain. Now the significance of SH2 domain I will tell you. Now this SH2, it's like a protein which is present in many other proteins like phospholipase C gamma. There it is present. Then we have the phosphatidyl inositol 3 kinase PI3K there, and also it is present on the GRB protein. Again, you can find the full form later in the description part. We have the GRB2 protein. There also SH2 part is there. SH2 protein is there. SH2 domain is there. So this is like growth factor receptor bound protein. In that SH2 is formed. Now activation will form a pocket, and then formation of pocket will lead to activation of this GRB2 here, GRB2, and this GRB2 will again cause activation or binding with the SOS, that is the son of sevenless. So this gets bound with this, and then this whole protein by the help of SH2 that gets binded with the phosphorylated tyrosine kinase. So we have GRB2, adapter of SH2. GRB is an adapter of SH2. This binds with the phosphorylated tyrosine molecule. Now what happens? After this, there is activation when binding over of GRB2 with the phosphorylated tyrosine kinase. Now what happens? This will in turn activate the RAS, that is the rat sarcoma. This activates. This usually is in bound form with the membrane bound form, and usually initially it is attached with the GTP. Remember, and when the activation occurs, there is removal of GTP, and then the GDP comes. That in turn will cause the activation of RAF. This one. Now this RAF will again cause the activation of MEK. MEK is what? This is MAPK ERK kinase phosphate. You can find the full form down. MAPK is a mitogen activated protein kinase. Now this MEKPO4 will in turn activate the MAPK or causes the phosphorylation of MAPK. Now this MAPK for phosphorylation, so activate RAS-MAPK, that is rat sarcoma or mitogen activated protein kinase pathway. It activates the whole pathway. This is a whole separate pathway. So this will cause the activation of that pathway, and then activation of this will cause the transfer of signal to the nucleus, and from there is transcription occurs, formation of specific protein occurs, and that will help in the cell growth, cell differentiation, cell proliferation. So that is the normal mechanism. And there are inhibitory regulator also. But when the inhibitory regulator are not in action, and when the whole process gets activated or gets stimulated for a prolonged period, then the cell differentiation and then the cancer occurs. So what to do? In order to inhibit, there are possibility that if you block the binding of the ligand, that can be halted, the whole pathway can be halted. Or if you alter the enzyme to get activated, then also it can be halted. Or if you somehow can stop the stimulation of this RAS-MAPK pathway or cascade mechanism, then also the progression can be halted. So this is another example of physiological receptor through which the many drugs, especially this type of the ligand, acts through. Hope this whole video would be helpful for you. Thank you so much.